considering, so when I was plotting the graphs for different special cases, I might have plotted things, a bit above or a bit below the graph. When you have the first case is obviously you are short on call and long on stock. I'm talking about the first one. So when you look at the long on the stock one, that is basically inclined line. When you are short on the call, that is basically the option one, horizontal, and there is a slant straight line. So obviously when you are considering the resultant one, you have slightly positive value and there is a negative value. When you subtract the negative from the slightly positive value from the straight line, obviously the straight line would shift a bit. You can see that shift. When I am plotting the things, perhaps my graph is slightly below or slightly above, but as long as you understand the final shape of the graph, that would be fine. Okay? So if you consider the other one, you can always use the same logic. Whenever you have two different thin lines, the resultant would be obviously in between. And when you have two negative things, then obviously you can see the resultant one. So my graphs are not according to the scale. The thing that you should understand from the graphs I plotted is basically the final shape of the portfolio payoff. Okay? Here this is a sort of more accurate picture, and sometimes when I was plotting I assumed that the cost of the option is 0, but sometimes actually I assume the cost of the option is some minute value. So apart from that, actually the shape of all the graphs I plotted are fine. There might be a sort of minute deviation from the actual representation. I hope you can understand the minute differences there. Okay? Obviously these are perfect and my graphs are basically not according to scale. Sometimes I might have plotted the graphs below or above the thin lines. Hope you can work on your own and understand the things. Okay? So that must be the story. So let us move on to the next topic. I thought actually I could explain some other things somebody asked me, but I don't want to complicate the story by explaining those trading strategies. So I just keep that aside and move on to the next one. Binomial trees. So this is the last topic. Binomial trees is a sort of a methodology we are going to use to understand the actual price of the given option. So the main idea is finding the price of a given option. So this is the aim for the next 1.5 hours. Okay. So let us consider a simple example. Why pricing is so difficult? When we have the following simple situation, let us say we started with time 0, and this is capital T is 1, so that might be 1 year. And you have some interest rates, we don't know the actual one. And let us say that after 1 year, from your investment you are going to get 110. What price are you going to pay? If that is the question. This is relatively easy. You may use simple interest or compound interest, whatever it may be. And you may say that the value is nothing but, by knowing the present value of the 110, the present value is simple, that is 110 divided by 1 plus R. If R is going to be 10%, then what is the price that you could pay for the, so the price of this investment, that means the price of the investment that would give you 110 after 1 year is basically 100. That is straightforward. Let us consider some other situation where you are basically investing your money. Let us say that the present price of a stock is $20 and it might go up or it might go down. Imagine a world where there are only two possible situations. Stock price might go up by 10%, or it might go down by 10%. So I am just simplifying the reality. Okay? There are different possibilities. Imagine a world where there are only two possible situations. Price might go up by 10% or it might go down by 10%. So if that is going up by 10%, then the future price is 22. If that is going down, the future price is 18. Okay. Let us say that I am going to buy an option with price, the strike price is $21, or 21 pounds, it doesn't matter. Okay. So what is the value of the option at this stage? If that is call option, if you are going to buy the call option where the strike price is 21, then the value of the option is here 1, and the value of the option in this situation is 0. Okay. So we are interested in finding out the value of the option. Let us say that the value of the option when stock is going up, I just note that as FU. FD is, this is a notation actually. F represents the value of the option. You understand that the value of the option in the first scenario is 1. If world is going to be like this, that means the stock price is going to be 22. You can see value as 1. If the world is going to move in this direction, then the value of the option is going to be 0. The main difference between these two examples is the following. Here, the future value is constant, deterministic. In the second example, the value is not constant. Okay? So, if you have the constant future value, by just using the discount factor or by just calculating the present value, you know the correct price for that investment. Here you have two different possibilities. The value could be 1 or the value could be 0. Under the circumstances, how are we going to find the actual price for our investment? Did you understand the difference between these two things? When the returns are constant, then you can discount the future value to present value and you say that the price for that investment is the present value of the future returns. Simple. But if the things are non-deterministic, you have many possibilities, because when you are trying to use the option value would be depending on the underlying. The underlying thing is stock price, which is not deterministic. If that is deterministic, that is easy. Option pricing is straightforward. If this underlying stock is going to take only one future value, then you are in a position to use the discount technique and find the value for the option, which is not the case. So we need a sort of a sensible theory that would give us the sort of price for the option that we are going to buy when time equals to 0. The idea is very simple. We have the answer here. You can price the option if the future value is going to be constant. Let us say that I am going to consider a simple portfolio. According to the portfolio, what I am going to do is, I am going to buy, this is a textbook notation, delta is basically representing the number of shares, delta shares, or the delta stocks of the underlying, and I sell a call option. If this is the case, what is the value of this portfolio? I think by now you understand portfolio. Portfolio is nothing but a collection of securities. In this case, I have two components. The first component is basically buying delta shares. I really do not know the delta value. You understand in few minutes why I am interested in that particular delta. My portfolio is nothing but holding certain number of shares and selling a call option. If this is the case, what is the value of my portfolio? If this is the case, my portfolio value is going to be 22 delta minus 1. How many of you agree with that? I have bought delta number of stocks. When the stock price is moved up to 22, do you think my portfolio value from the stocks is 22 times the number of stocks I am going to hold? Yes or no? So the first part is 22 times delta. And why did I subtract 1? Because according to the portfolio, I sold a call option. Okay? So the value of the call option, so that means the value the person who bought the option would see is $1. So I need to pay $1 to the person who is going to knock my door. Okay, that's why the value of the portfolio for this situation is 22 times delta minus 1. Is that clear? If this is not clear, I need to explain, because that is the only important step. It's worth a Nobel Prize. They have used this simple idea, and that's the basic story behind Black-Scholes option pricing. So try to understand the following. Hope you don't have any issues here. When time equals to 0, the price of the stock is 20, and it might go up by 10%, 22, or it might go down by 10%, that is 18. If I sell an option, I need to pay $1 in this case. If the situation is 18, I need not pay anything. Do you agree up to that? Is that clear? So now come back to a portfolio. Instead of selling a call option, I also extended my portfolio by buying certain number of stocks. How many number of stocks did I buy? Delta. I really do not know what is the delta, but just assume that I bought delta number of shares. Then my portfolio value is going to be 22 times delta, because I am holding those many stocks. If delta is going to be 2, what is the value that I have on stocks? 2 times 22. If delta is going to be 4 stocks, my portfolio value on the stocks is basically 22 times 4. And my portfolio involves selling a call option. So that means if somebody comes, then I need to pay that extra dollar. That's why I created 22 delta minus 1. So what is the portfolio value in the second option? The world might end here, or that might go to $22, or that might go to $18. My portfolio value, I am just writing that here, is 18 times delta. Do you agree? Because I need not pay anything for the call option. Now, this is the trick. I know how to evaluate the price of an asset when the return is going to be constant, whatever it may be the situation. If I want to end up with the same sort of return from both the portfolios, that means I am asking the following question. For what value of delta I am going to get this situation? If this is the case, what does that mean? There exists a delta when I hold those many number of stocks. My payoff after time period T is going to be the same. Do you agree that? So let us solve this. This delta is, if I bring that, is 4 delta equals to 1, therefore delta equals to 0.25. So if I hold a quarter of stock, okay, then what happens? I don't care about the price movements in the stock. Whatever it may be the value, my portfolio value is going to be the same. Do you agree with that? This is a simple statement. I am trying to find the number of stocks I am supposed to hold in my portfolio such a way that whatever it happens to the underlying stock, the value of the portfolio is going to be the same. Did you understand? The value of the portfolio would be the same if I hold 0.25 stocks. Agreed? If you know that the portfolio value is going to be the same, we fall into the first category. Because the final value of the portfolio here is 110, that is deterministic. So once the portfolio value is deterministic, then you just discount that and find the present value. Okay? So by using that, what I do is the following. So I know that I am supposed to hold delta equals to 0.25 stocks, then the future value is going to be the same, up or down, doesn't matter, is going to be 22 delta minus 1, which is nothing but 22 times 0.25 minus 1. What is that value? Is going to be 4.5. Okay? So that means my portfolio value after time equals to capital D is going to be 4.5, irrespective of the movements in the underlying stocks. Do you agree? So once I know that, this is what you are going to get after capital time T. how much are you going to invest, or how much you are going to pay for the portfolio. So I'm just writing the present value of the portfolio. The present value of the portfolio is nothing but the discounted future value, that is 4.5 e power minus RT. Assume that this is continuous compounding. Do you agree with that? So this is the present value of my portfolio. But this portfolio involves two components. I am going to buy delta number of stocks, but that time the stock price is 20, that we know that, minus the value of the stock. This must be equivalent to 4.5 times e power minus RT. Therefore, F is going to be 20 times delta value is known as 0.25 minus 4.5 e power minus RT. This is the price of the option. So what did we make is the following. We created a portfolio such a way that the portfolio value, the future value of the portfolio is constant irrespective of the fluctuations in the underlying. If that is the case, we can use our common sense, which is nothing but the present value is the discount value of the future. Once you know that logic, then the present value involves buying delta number of stocks. So the value that I am going to put on the stocks is basically the present value of the stocks, that is 20 times delta minus the value of the price for the option must be equivalent to the discounted value of the future, that is 4.5. Then by just doing the simple algebraic manipulation, you get F value equals to this one. For example, if you assume that some numerical values R equals to 12% and if T is going to be 3 months, that means this is going to be 1 quarter of an year, 0.25, then your F value is going to be 0.633 if you substitute the numbers. Okay? Did you follow the logic? I am going to generalize this idea and give the formula for the option price. If you don't follow this logic, then it's relatively difficult to follow the next set of slides. So let us look at these slides. What I have done is the following. So this is the example actually we considered from the textbook. So as I mentioned, we are trying to understand the underlying mechanism for the finding the price for the option. So the underlying mechanism is very simple. We know how to find the price for any given investment as long as the returns are fixed, returns are deterministic. That's why we consider a simple example. For example, if you are going to get 110 for sure deterministically after 1 year, how much price are you going to pay? If outside interest rate is, let us say, 10%, the answer is 100. That answer is correct because the final return in the future is deterministic. But when you are considering the options, for example, that is not so deterministic. If somebody is going to write the option on this particular stock, you could see two different answers for the final value of the option that we are talking about. So if the strike price is 21, the option value could be 1 or that could be 0. It is not like a sort of deterministic answer. What we are making is we create a portfolio such a way that the portfolio's value would be same irrespective of the fluctuations in the stock, whether that is 22 or 18, your portfolio value is going to be the same. So for that actually we identified the correct portfolio, which is nothing but finding the delta value. In this example we understood that the final value of the option could be 1 or 0, and we created a portfolio where that involves buying certain number of stocks and selling a single call option. So how many number of stocks we are supposed to buy while creating the portfolio such a way that the portfolio's value is constant irrespective of the values 22 or 18 for the given stocks. So we identified the number of stocks we are supposed to consider is going to be 0.25. So we got the number of stocks. By using the number of stocks, you can create a portfolio whose value is fixed in the future. Okay, that is what you should understand. And now we did the manipulations and simple algebraic calculations. The value of the portfolio is going to be 4.5, and this 4.5 is constant, like bank account. Okay, irrespective of the fluctuations in the underlying stock. So if you know that that is for 4.5, then the price that you are going to pay is nothing but the discounted value of the 4.5. So that's why we discounted, and the value is 4.3670. This is the price that you are going to pay for the portfolio. But remember that your portfolio involves certain number of stocks and a call option that you are going to sell. So the present value, that means today's stock price, is going to be 20. When you are going to hold 0.25 stocks, that means the value that you are going to get from the portfolio, or you would see, is basically 0.25 times 20. That is the value on the stocks, and the value that you would see from the given call option is basically calculated by subtracting 4.367 from 5, and you see that the stock price or the option price or the option value at the moment is 0.633. So basically what we did is a simple step. We create a portfolio whose returns is going to be constant. And from then onwards we know how to handle the story and find the value for the option. This is the basic idea behind the arbitrage pricing for the option pricing used by Black and Scholes, and they got Nobel Prize for not for this simple idea, but after that actually they have used some stochastic calculus and the other things. But this is the important step in the pricing formula. So I think anybody can understand this because this is logically so simple. Do you have any questions at this stage? Anybody? I'm going to generalize this so that actually we get the formula for the option pricing. Any questions? Or how many of you didn't understand this? Yes. What's the exact issue here?
Oh, I understood. Oh, I understood.
Oh, you understood. Because you... Anybody who could not follow this one? Because this is important step. Anybody? Huh? Okay. Maybe you may see me after the class. That's fine. So, check. So I just showed the numerical example. Now I am going to use variables so that you get a formula. So let us use some. They say the world is going to take only 4 states, more abstractly, that could go up or that could go down. Okay? So the duration is basically you should have asked me in the beginning so then I was better. Okay, so the world is going to take only 2 states. So let us say that you are going to sell the option at time equals to 0 and the tenure of the option is going to be T, the capital T, and at the moment when you are pricing the option, the underlying stock value is S0, just simple notation, and it might go up by S0 times U, or it go down by S0 times D, where U is greater than 1 and D is less than 1. For example, if U is going to 1.1, that means stock price is increased by 10%. If that is D is going to be 0.9, that means the stock price is reduced by 10%. Easy. Okay? So now we are going to consider the value of the option that you are going to see is FU. So I am just using the same notation, okay? I do not know the number, so that's why I retained it as FU is basically the option value when the stock price is moved up. FD is the value of the option when the stock price is moved down. Okay? So this is FD. And now I am trying to find a portfolio. Obviously the ultimate aim is finding the option price. You can see that the value of the option is going to be different. If value of the option is constant, then there ends the story. It's basically finding the discounted value. But that is not the case, so that's why we are creating a portfolio. Create a portfolio with delta shares and sell a call option. Exactly the same what we have done in the numerical example. Then what happens is the following. The stock price is moved to, look at the first situation. Stock price is moved by, let us say S0U. So S naught U is the new price of the individual stock. How many stocks did I buy? Delta. So the value that I get from the number of stocks I am going to hold is the future price of the stock times the number of stocks I am going to hold. But I sold the value, I sold the option, so the value of the option at that time is FU, which we do not know the actual value, but you need to subtract. So this will give you the portfolio value for this situation, the top situation. And we would like to find the delta, the number of shares, such a way that irrespective of these upward and downward movements, my portfolio value is going to be the same. So that means S naught D, this in case the stock price is going down, this is my stock, the number of stocks I am going to hold, the value of the stocks, minus FD, the amount I am supposed to pay. Need not be zero always. Okay. So you have a simple equation, and by writing the following, you can bring this term here. Then you would say that S naught U minus S naught D equals to FU minus FD. Therefore, the number of stocks I am going to hold is going to be FU minus FD, S naught times U minus D. This is a simple formula. So you know how to create a portfolio now, where the portfolio value is going to be constant. Okay? Hope you are following up to this point. So the next one is just simple substitution. The next step is finding the portfolio value. The portfolio value is going to be the following. The present value of the portfolio is S naught, that is the stock price at the moment, on how many stocks I am going to buy, delta, and of course there is some value to this is the value, and this must be the discounted value of the future. So for example, these two are same, I can use any of the values. S naught U delta minus FU times e power minus RT. What is this? This is the future value of my portfolio. Okay? We have already seen that. And the future value is constant because I selected very carefully the number of stocks such a way that irrespective of the ups and downs, I get the same future value. This is future value. I discounted that must match with the present value of my portfolio. Present value of the portfolio is nothing but the current stock price times the number of stocks I am going to hold minus the option that I am going to sell. Is that clear? The same logic. Only thing is you do not have numbers here. So by just doing some algebraic manipulation, I can always write this as F, that is what actually we are going to find as S naught times, I think I better write this as S naught. Let me expand these things so that actually otherwise you may get confused. Delta e power minus RT, I'm just expanding this, minus fu RT or the other way around, that's fine. So minus S naught delta. I just brought the S naught delta and I just expanded that. Okay, so you can simply write this as F is going to be S naught times delta minus U delta e power minus RT plus FU e power minus RT. I'm just arranging the things, nothing else. Okay. So you can simplify this further by writing S naught. If I extract the delta, 1 minus U e power minus RT plus FU e power minus RT. And we know the delta value. So the delta value we found is going to be Fu minus Fd divided by S naught U minus D. You need not worry about the derivation. If I substitute this value here, then the option value is going to be something like this. F equals to, I don't want to do all the calculations because that's not the important point that you're supposed to understand. When I substitute delta value here, then this is going to be something like this. I'm just giving the final one. So this would be 1 upon U minus D Fu 1 minus D e power minus RT minus Fd 1 minus e power minus RT. So when you substitute, this is going to be something like this. So you can do some manipulations here. If I extract e power minus RT, then I can always write this as e power minus RT if I extract. Then this is going to be e power RT minus D divided by U minus D minus Fd times e power RT minus U divided by U minus D. But don't worry about the intermediate steps, which we are not going to worry too much about the intermediate steps. Then what happens is, the final answer would be something like this. This is e power minus RT, and you can write by simple manipulation this as something like e power RT, yeah, I'm just writing this step again. Fu minus e power RT minus U minus D times Fd. Now the important thing you should understand is the following. If I write probability is going to be e power RT minus D divided by U minus D. I'm just substituting, instead of writing this one, I call this as D. Then what happens is the above equation is going to be something like this. E power minus RT P times Fu plus 1 minus P times Fd. Okay, this is the thing you should remember. The portfolio by just creating a portfolio where the returns from the portfolio is constant irrespective of the fluctuations in the underlying. If that is the case, you can always find the value of the option as something like this, where FU represents the upward value of the option, FD is the downward value. Upward value means the stock price is going up, the value of the option is FU. FD is created as the value of the option when the stock price is going down. And it seems like that you are using certain probabilities, and if you just look at this, P is a probability, let us say half, 1 minus P is another half, then you are basically finding the expected values of these two values, FU and FD, which is going to be a sort of expected payoff or expected value of the option, which is discounted and which is going to be your value of the option for today. So this is a sort of a formula that you can derive. This is exactly the same as the numerical example that we have considered. Only thing is we just use some variables. Now if you are going to substitute those numerical values, you get F equals to 0.63, which we found as the value of the option. So why did we do this? Because this will simplify many of our calculations. So from now onwards, what you should remember is the following. This particular notation, and we have two situations. The value of the option is F, and sometimes that would take FU when the stock price is going up, that is FU, stock price may go down. In that case, the value of the option is FD. If you know these values, and P value can be easily calculated by using this formula, then you can easily find the F value by substituting the values in the above equation. How many of you followed? Good. That is the only complicated step in the binomial tree case. That must be easy. I hope you don't have any issues with this. Did you understand this? You have stock S0, and that might go up, that might go down. When stock price is up, the value of the option is FU, the value of the option is FD. Okay? The numerical example is this one. If the stock price is up, oops, where is that? Yeah. If the stock price is up, when you are looking at the numbers, the value of the option is FU, the value of the option is FD. When stock price is going up, FU, FD is stock pricing going down. And by using those values, you can find the value of the option when time equals to 0. That is the ultimate aim. Okay? So I just used variables, nothing else. The value of the option at time equals to 0 is F, and this is up and down. And by just using simple manipulation, you need not worry about the derivation here. What you need to remember is the value of the option at time equals to 0 is according to this formula. What are the ingredients for this formula? FU value, FD value, basically value of the option when things are moving up, value of the option when things are moving down, and you know how to calculate the P value by using the given information. Okay? So by simply substituting the values, you can find the value of the option when time equals to 0. That is the aim of the valuation of the option. Okay? Huh? So one more step. What is the guarantee that the world is going to take only 2 states? That might take more than 2 states. For example, if you are going to consider the following, it's a bit more complicated, but you better understand this. Today, and you have written the option for so long, this is going to be your time, but you may divide the time into 2 parts. Let us say that this is a small t. Let us say, I just call this as delta t. This is another delta t. Or you may better use small t. That's fine. Okay. So the world might go up or go down. So imagine that actually this is a sort of 1 year period or maybe 6 month period, t equals to 6 months. You have written the option for the duration of 6 months. Do you think actually the price of the stock would change only once during 1 year? So during the 6 months? In our previous model actually I assumed only 2 possibilities. Those possibilities are going to happen during the tenure of the given option. But what I am assuming is basically the world might change at least 2 times in 6 months. Well, that is not a real life situation. The world would change many times during the 6 month duration. But we are simplifying the things by assuming that there are only 2 possibilities. In the first 6 months, in the first 3 months, this might go up or go down. Let us say that if that is going up, that is S naught U, and the value of the option is, I just say FUU, and if this might go down, then I would say that the value of the option is FT. But again, the world might go up or go down, and from here also this might go up or go down. So if this is going up, then obviously the stock price is S naught U square, and if this is the case, then the stock price is S naught UD. Obviously this would match with the same S naught UD and S naught D square. And I call this as FUU, that is the stock price, the stock value, sorry, the option value when time equals to capital T, and this is going to be FUD or FDU, doesn't matter, and this is going to be FDD. Okay. So your ultimate aim is finding the F value. So hope you understand the difference between the previous situation and this one. I am just making the model is more realistic. How many modifications, how many times actually the stock price would change? That would change thousands of times. So that means you have to create a binomial tree, of length, let us say 1,000 times. In this case, I am just considering a binomial tree of depth 2. I have only 2 situations here. The first situation is stock price might move up to S naught U, or that might move to S naught D. In the next case, from here 1 step up, 1 step down. From here 1 step up, 1 step down. So in the end, I might see actually sort of 3 possible stock prices for the given underlying. So if I can consider, let us say 4 or 5 more, then obviously I can create more possible more possible stock prices or stock fluctuations for the given underlying or the given stock. So that's a sort of complicated story. So we can simplify this by just looking at the. So this is the situation we understood and we calculated, and we also understand the value of the option, and these things we discussed. And I'm just moving to the, I will come back to this again. Let me complete this. When you are considering the two-step binomial tree, if you do not like the variables, this is the situation when you are considering the numbers. The stock price is going to change on two different occasions during the tenure of the option. That is the assumption. If you assume that the stock price is going to change only once during the tenure, that is basically the previous example. You have only one situation. Here, the stock price is going to change twice, and you can see that in the on the first occasion, 10% improvement, that is 20 can become 22, down 18. Again from here, 10% up, which is going to be 24.2, and down, sorry, 19.8, and again down is 16.2. And you can see the value of the option by substituting the numbers. What is that? We have a few more minutes actually. But don't worry, actually, we have time tomorrow as well. In case if you cannot understand this, I may explain this in the first few minutes of the next class. So it's basically sort of two-step model for the binomial tree. What I do is, I stop here. I think I lost most of you, and actually my energy levels also very down. So that might be one of the reasons actually. So what I do is, I explain the binomial model in the first 40-45 minutes tomorrow, because I cannot convince you in the next 15 minutes, that is for sure. Sorry about that, but I will come back to this. I will explain these things in the first 40 minutes, and the remaining 2.5 hours we discuss the coursework. Okay? So I think that might be a good strategy.
When you started, I too.